Hello, this is Nicole Cooley with Kids First Education, and today I'm going to bring you ELA in a flash. The standard we're going to be looking at today is RL61. We're going to cite textual evidence to support an analysis that we give of what the text says explicitly or what is right there in the text, as well as any inferences that we might draw from the text. For the sixth grade, the new part of this standard is around analysis. We're not just explaining what the text says, we do have to give an analysis of what the text says. So let's look at a reading process or some steps to adhere to the skills and concepts within this standard. First off, we're going to analyze different parts of the text and put it into our own words. Then, within that analysis, we're going to include evidence. Then we're going to make inferences about possibly the characters, the plot, the theme of the text, and we're also going to include evidence to support those inferences. So let's give this standard a try. The excerpt we're going to read today is from Fish Cheeks by Amy Tan, and that can be found on commonlit.org. Let's read the excerpt. I fell in love with the minister's son the winter I turned 14. He was not Chinese, but as white as Mary in the manger. For Christmas, I prayed for this blonde-haired boy, Robert, and a slim new American nose. When I found out that my parents had invited the minister's family over for Christmas Eve dinner, I cried. What would Robert think of our shabby Chinese Christmas? What would he think of our noisy Chinese relatives who lacked proper American manners? What terrible disappointment would he feel upon seeing not a roasted turkey and sweet potatoes, but Chinese food? Another part of the excerpt. After everyone had gone, my mother said to me, "You want to be the same as American girls on the outside." She handed me an early gift. It was a miniskirt in beige tweed. But inside, you must always be Chinese. You must be proud you are different. Your only shame is to have shame. So let's look at a text-dependent question so that we can analyze what the text says explicitly. Why does the narrator cry when she learns that the minister's family is coming for Christmas Eve dinner? We know that that happens here, and so what we're going to be doing is to analyze this particular part of the excerpt. By doing that, we're going to look at textual evidence in these sections, and that textual evidence is going to be words and phrases. As we analyze those, we're going to come up with a short analysis for that. So let's look at some pieces of textual evidence. We know that she is in love with the minister's son. We know that she feels her Chinese Christmas is shabby. We know that she thinks maybe her Chinese relatives are noisy, that they lack proper manners, and she thinks that the family is going to feel terrible disappointment when they see Chinese food and not what she feels they might eat, which would be a roasted turkey and sweet potatoes. So what is a short analysis of these words and phrases that we pulled? The narrator seems to feel embarrassed because her family's customs may not meet the expectations of Robert's family's customs, and we know that she likes Robert. So let's put both of these columns together into an analysis, not just an explanation, but an analysis using the textual evidence. The narrator cries when she discovers her parents had invited the minister's family over for Christmas Eve dinner. First off, notice the quotation marks right here and within the rest of the analysis because we are pulling words and phrases directly from Amy Tan's text. Because of her heritage, she seems to be embarrassed by what the American family may experience at her house, especially Robert the son, because she is in love with him. She thinks her family's Christmas is shabby, her relatives are noisy, her relatives lack proper manners, and her family's food will cause terrible disappointment because it may not be customary. These words and phrases convey to the reader the narrator's negative attitude toward how others might perceive customs that are normal to her family, but maybe not to theirs. Because the words and phrases about her family hold a negative connotation, the reader understands that the narrator may not want others to experience her family's traditions, especially those she may want to impress. So what we've done is taken a text-dependent question, and we have looked at the evidence that the text gives us in order to answer that question through an analysis. Now let's look at making an inference within this excerpt. Our question is, why does the mother say, "Your only shame is to have shame," which is right down here. So to make an inference, we have to have some background knowledge about the question, some textual evidence to help us analyze it, and then we make an inference. So what kind of background knowledge might we know about this particular question? Your only shame is to have shame is what the mother tells the child. Let's look at some. We might feel shame when we feel we have done something wrong, or that something has been done wrong and we can't do anything about it. And we know that parents offer wise advice to their children. The mother is saying this to her daughter, and then she's talking about her daughter feeling shame. So now let's look at some textual evidence that might help us infer something in order to answer this question. We know that her mother gives her an early gift, a miniskirt. We know from our previous question that the narrator is embarrassed by having others experience her family's customs. We also know that the mother says, inside, you must always be Chinese. And the mother tells the daughter, be proud you are different. So what is an inference that we can make from all of this that we've talked about, the background knowledge and the textual evidence? Well, we know that the narrator's mother understands her daughter's wish to be more like American Girls, but she also wants her daughter to be proud of her heritage. So now let's take all three columns right here and put it into an actual analysis of the text and not just an explanation. The narrator's mother understands her daughter's wish to be the same as American Girls on the outside, so she gives her daughter an early gift, a miniskirt in beige tweed. Notice the quotation marks because we are pulling directly from the actual text. However, the mother desires for her child to understand and appreciate their culture's differences. By saying, inside, you must always be Chinese, the mother is trying to help her daughter see that pride, being proud, pride in who they are should take the place of the shame and embarrassment she knows her daughter is feeling. Your only shame is to have shame is a loving yet mild rebuke from the mother, trying to show her daughter that the only wrong thing that happened that Christmas Eve night was her daughter's shameful feelings about her family. So what we did is to take words and phrases from all three columns to have an analysis to support our inference right here. So let's review. RL 6.1 tells us that we need to cite textual evidence that supports an analysis of what the text tells us explicitly, as well as different inferences that we might draw from the text. So again, the process for that is going to be where we analyze different parts of the text and put that analysis into our own words and include evidence that supports that analysis that we create. Then we're going to make inferences about the characters, the plot, the theme, and we're going to provide evidence that supports those inferences. This has been ELA in a Flash, and for more ELA in a Flash videos, please visit our website at www.kidsfirst.llc. Happy reading!